guys, I'm Alicia, Camacho, and welcome to this week's episode. Guys, this week's episode is gonna be a little bit kooky bananas, right? And I'm not saying that because I've gone kooky bananas, but basically everybody in the whole wide world's gone kooky bananas because of one single tweet by one man called Kyle. Hi Kyle. What did Kyle do, or what did Kyle say that blew everybody's minds away last week? And now people are just thinking like, what the heck, man? Well, let me tell you. Kyle tweeted that not everybody hears their thoughts. I'm gonna let that sink in, yeah? Not everybody hears their thoughts. Now, what do you mean by that, right? Well, according to Kyle, okay, not everybody hears their thoughts like as in a speech, but instead a lot of people think in an abstract kind of way. Now, what do you mean by abstract? Abstract. What do you mean by abstract? Well, basically means that not everybody has that little mini-me voice that has constant verbal diarrhea and stops them from sleeping in their brains. A lot of people think essentially differently. And once he tweeted this, a lot of people responded to him, and boy, was it mad. I think it just freaked a lot of people out because they were like, oh damn, I don't. And a lot of people were like, you telling me that it's quiet in your head? How did you achieve this level of zen and quiet and peace? Because I would like that. Yes, just a little bit, you know. Kyle, I think, like, just officially ended 2020. He was just like, bam, tweet, and everybody was like, huh? What do you mean? So there's a lot more to what this whole Kyle person had to say. I thought that I would take it upon myself to go and explore and then come back and explain to you guys, and also to probably try and explain things to myself, what exactly he meant by this, because apparently it's been a thing. After reading some of the Twitter responses, I got me thinking. I was like, okay, well, if some people only think in one way or this way or that way, I essentially kind of think in all kinds of ways. So like I can think, I primarily like hear a voice in my head. It's a little mini Alicia in my head. I miniaturize her, and she is like my inner thoughts and constantly speaking to me even when I don't want to be speaking to her. I can visualize like scenes, and like when I read a book, I read the sentence out loud in my head. I can like understand colors, and I can see like pictures and stuff like that. So I don't know if that constitutes as thinking, or if that's just like my brain like trying to process information, but not everybody thinks this way. And it becomes an even bigger shock to know that only 26% of people actually have inner speech. Only 26% of people have a little voice in their head. This has been an ongoing investigation for Dr. Hilbert, and he has been investigating this, I think, since like 2011, and he's been doing a series of experimentations. While a lot of people don't agree 100% with what he has to say, I thought that what he has to say was very, very interesting. And he's been exploring the idea of pristine inner experience, which is basically the idea of how we actually think and the different ways that people think. Because as we've now learned, people are thinking, or people have been thinking in a different way. Like, what are the different ways? Some people say that they can only visualize certain things. So for them, like if they want to eat a piece of cake, they are going to see the cake in their head, and then they're going to go get cake, and then they're going to eat it, and then their thought is done, their experience is done, they you know, it's done. They've eaten their cake. Me, when I want cake, I like picture the cake, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love a piece of cake, and then I go get cake. But some people just see the cake. Does that make sense? Other people see these, like when they see, or these people who see the images in their heads, they have sometimes, they do struggle to verbalize these words sometimes, or verbalize these pictures. So that is why some people struggle to actually have like a conversation, or to say certain things, or to describe certain things, because they have it in their heads but they don't have the words. So they've got to now like translate the picture into words and actually speak them out loud. They can't like pre-sentence anything. They gotta like instant. Some people associate images to certain events, certain emotions and stuff like that. Depending on the picture, each picture in their brain represents a certain thing. So they can have like one picture for several things, but their brain interprets it for separate things. I'm also myself not 100% sure what it is, but I'm trying to explain for you guys so that I can try and understand, so that we can all understand and be in the same boat about confusion. Other people experience a feeling of needing to do something. So they won't see anything in their heads, they won't think anything in their heads, and they literally just basically blank in their heads, but they have this sensation that they have to do something. Like if their day is going to be like a bad day, like if they woke up and they're in a bad mood, they're not going to say, oh, I'm in a bad mood, or like stomp around and picture like angry emoji faces or anything like that. They're literally just going to have like that feeling of, I'm in a bad mood. Others think abstractly, so they could see like waves. I've heard people say that they can see like music, which is very cool. I wish I could do that. Something I feel like that's a superpower. Colors, you know, when people say that they see colors, I'm assuming that it's like that. When people read, they don't actually say anything when they're reading. So like you're reading a book or you're reading a sentence, and I think this is why maybe some people freaked out about reading in class. They only know actually how they're going to say things and what they're going to say when they actually like read. And then like when they're reading, it's quiet in their heads, like their eyes are just processing the information and they're understanding the words, but there's no voice in there to read. A lot of people also picture the spoken word, so that's like instead of just like hearing the sentence in your head, like reading it in your head, some people actually picture the sentence in their head. So the cat went over the moon, like they actually picture that sentence, the cat went over the moon. Some people associate images to numbers and words. There was a girl who tweeted, she was like, she sees snowflakes when she does 2 multiplications. As you can imagine, this is some shocking news for everybody. This is some news that is blowing everybody's minds apart because it's weird. It truly is kooky bananas, because as it is, we're so different. You know, we see things differently, like our eyes are seeing things differently. I mean, some of us need glasses, others don't. Some people hear things differently, and we taste different things, you know? Like some people like wine. So different in everything that we do and everything that we experience. Now, we're being told that even the way we think is different. The idea of inner speech came around the 1930s, and it was invented by a Russian psychologist called Lev Vygotsky. I think I'm saying that correct. I hope I'm not offending anybody. But he was like studying children and the way they think and the way they communicate and the way they learn to communicate. And essentially he believed, and he came to the conclusion that our inner speech, like we all have inner speech, and inner speech is essentially the internalization of our external speech. If you don't want to say anything out loud, you think it instead. And that then created this whole idea that everybody has inner speech. Another thing is that inner speech has also been associated with different conditions, so like audio hallucinations, and that's like if you're hearing different voices in your heads, or like you're hearing a voice and essentially your brain hasn't associated that is your voice, so it's like an hallucination for you and you drive yourself crazy. Not saying that anybody's crazy, it's just that's what it's usually associated with. Or if you're like seeing images, for instance, that is apparently associated with people who have autism, and they don't necessarily like see what they want to say, but they see things in more like images. It's mind-boggling because essentially people don't know what inner speech is supposed to look like or what it means, because we don't actually know much about it. Like we thought we did, and now we don't, and now we're trying to understand it, but our brains are so complicated, I don't think we'll ever know, because, you know, why should this thing be any simpler? In 2013, Bach Scott said that the internal voice in our head is actually our brains trying to predict the sound of our voice before it like actually happens. So how we say things before we say them out loud, our brain is trying to be like, okay, you're gonna say it like this. That was his theory, right? Essentially though, what he also had to say was that inner speech, works differently to like our verbalized speech. When we speak out loud, we have to move our mouths, we have to use our tongue, we have vocal box to use, our voice boxes to use, and vocal cords that help us to sound the words out. But when we have inner speech, it actually works differently. It works a lot faster than what our mouths and other stuff works, because we are saying it in our heads. We don't always have to use complete sentences to say what we want to say to ourselves. And even if we are unable to actually explain what we're trying to say, our brain already knows what we're trying to say because we are we. And that's that, you know, our brains are like, I know what you mean, you know. What does this actually mean when it comes to having a conversation with people? This helps us to understand why our conversations happen so differently with people, and why people are maybe sometimes afraid to speak in public, or why people have like speech impairments like stuttering, you know, just why people say things and then like regret it, and we think, no filter, but actually, like, you know, they really don't have a filter. They don't know what they're gonna say, you know. It's like a surprise, it's like a lucky pack. It's like, ooh, this sentence, this is bad. It got me thinking, like, we're now discovering that this is how people think, and this is how people are processing thoughts or whatever. And it made me realize that we need to be more tolerant and more patient when it comes to speaking to people. It's just, we are processing all the information differently, and we need to be kinder, because some people can't help it when they say dumb stuff, you know. And we just have to be a little bit patient and be like, that was dumb, go back and try again. Not everybody sees the same. We're all different, and this proves just how different we are. We are so complex that even the way we're thinking is different. To be more understanding about how they say things and why they say things, and to understand when people are struggling to vocalize what they're trying to say. All in all though, it's mind-blowing. I think it's really, really interesting that this is something that we are discovering about ourselves. That is the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. It just proves just how unique you are. You know, if you ever wanted a reason to be different, my friend. Would love to hear your thoughts on how you think and what you see. If you're interested in finding out more about today's topic, I have put the links below on the articles that I used. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram, which is Alicia Camacho _official. If you still want to buy a book of mine, my poetry book, the links are also down below. Remember, you are awesome, you are great, and you are loved in all your little quirkiness.